Hello there, very good evening and welcome to Primetime News on TV1 for the Newsfirst, where the people come first. I'm Martin Satyanesan.
And I'm Thiruni Karunaratna. Here are tonight's top stories. Adani Group denies cancellation of Sri Lankan wind power projects. Swiss government to aid Sri Lanka in recovering overseas asset. 16 not enough. Ex-President Mahinda goes to court. Trump orders release of last files on JFK, RFK and MLK assassinations. Solution to the coconut shortage. Coconut flowers and coconut milk to be imported.
On to those stories in detail. The Adani Group said that reports that Adani's wind power projects in Mana and Punarin have been cancelled are false and misleading. Spokesperson for the Adani Group said that the group remains committed to investing in Sri Lanka's green energy sector.
Spokesperson for the Adani Group said that reports that Adani's 484 megawatt wind power projects in Mana and Punarin have been cancelled are false and misleading. The statement said, quote, "We categorically state that the project has not been cancelled. The Sri Lankan Cabinet's decision on the 2nd of January 2025 to re-evaluate the tariff approved in May 2024 is part of a standard review process, particularly with a new government, to ensure that the terms align with their current priorities and energy policies," unquote. The statement added that Adani remains committed to investing $1 billion in Sri Lanka's green energy sector, driving renewable energy and economic growth. The Swiss government has pledged its support to help Sri Lanka recover assets that have been moved out of the country. This assurance was given by the ambassador of Switzerland to Sri Lanka and ambassador-designate to the Maldives, Dr. Siri Walt, during a meeting held today at the Presidential Secretariat with the Secretary to the President, Dr. Nandika Sanath Kumarnayaka. Ambassador of Switzerland to Sri Lanka and Ambassador-designate to the Maldives, Dr. Siri Walt, provided guidance on the international measures required to reclaim such assets and expressed Switzerland's readiness to extend support by providing essential resources and assistance whenever necessary. The discussions also focused on leveraging Switzerland's expertise and technical knowledge to bolster Sri Lanka's ongoing anti-corruption initiatives. The Swiss government reiterated its commitment to providing technical and financial support for Sri Lanka's priority programs, including the Clean Sri Lanka program.
Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa has filed a fundamental rights petition with the Supreme Court, seeking an order to reinstate his security detail, which was significantly reduced without a proper security assessment. The petition names 29 respondents, including the Attorney General, Prime Minister Haruni Amarasuriya, members of the Cabinet and the Acting Inspector General of Police.
Filed by Attorney-at-Law Anuradha Senaratne, the petition highlights that on the 30th of September 2024, Rajapaksa's security detail was reduced to just 60 officers, with the remaining personnel being withdrawn. Rajapaksa's petition asserts that the reduction in his security was done without a proper assessment and that he currently has no armed military personnel assigned to his protection, relying solely on police officers. The former president, who led the country through a 3-decade-long conflict, claims that he continues to face terrorist threats, making the reduction in his security a threat to his life. The petition requests the court to declare that the arbitrary reduction of his security detail violates his fundamental human rights and to order the reinstatement of his full security contingent. Additionally, Rajapaksa seeks an assessment of the threats against him and appropriate measures to ensure his safety. On to an international news item now. A trove of long classified government documents concerning some of the most politically charged killings in modern American history, including the assassination of former President John F. Kennedy, could finally be made available to the public. But that's just the start of the latest saga surrounding the killings, which have sparked fascination, conspiracy theories and history-changing debate for many decades. United States President Donald Trump has ordered the declassification and release of all remaining files related to the assassination of former US President John F. Kennedy, the focus of popular conspiracy theories for 6 decades. Trump's executive order also calls for the release of the last remaining records on the assassinations of Robert F. Kennedy, JFK's younger brother, and the civil rights icon Martin Luther King Jr.
Lastly, sir, we have an executive order ordering the declassification of files relating to the assassinations of President John F. Kennedy, Senator Robert F. Kennedy, and the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.
That's a big one, huh? A lot of people are waiting for this for years, for decades. And everything will be revealed. Okay? Give that to RFK Jr.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Okay, thank you.
Under Trump's order, the Director of National Intelligence must present a plan within 15 days for the full and complete release of files related to JFK's assassination and a plan within 45 days for the release of documents on the other 2 assassinations. The circumstances of JFK's assassination in Dallas, Texas on the 22nd of November 1963 have transfixed Americans for decades, with surveys showing widespread doubt about official explanations of the killing. Trump ordered the release of more than 2,800 documents upon the arrival of the 2017 deadline, but bowed to pressure from the CIA and FBI to withhold thousands of more files pending review. Kennedy was shot dead at a Los Angeles hotel on the 5th of June 1968, shortly after wrapping up a speech to mark his victory in California's Democratic presidential primary. Civil rights icon Martin Luther King Jr. was killed on a balcony outside his motel room in Memphis, Tennessee. Robert F. Kennedy was killed by an assassin, Sirhan, as he shook hands with the hotel busboy. Sirhan remains in prison.
It has been revealed that some rice producers are avoiding storing their paddy stocks in warehouses and instead are keeping them in farmers' homes. This issue was brought to light during a session of the Committee on Public Finance.
රුපියල් 65ක බද්දක් අපි ගහලා තිබුණානේ. ඒ බද්දෙන් කොච්චර එකතු කරගත්තද? ආදායමක් හැටියට.
Treasury collected around 10.9 billion. 10.9 billion.
කොච්චර අස්වැද්දුවද කොච්චර මේ වෙනද පොළට ආවද කියන එක පිළිබඳව යම් දැනුමක් ඇග්‍රිකල්චර් මිනිස්ට්‍රියට තියෙන්න ඕන.
සාමාන්‍ය යලට 1 මිලියන් විතර තමයි ඉන්නේ. මහට 4.3 මිලියන් එනවා කියන්නේ මෙට්‍රික් ටන්ස් එනවා. නැත්නම් සාමාන්‍ය 5.2 5.3 විතර එනවා. ඒකෙන් තමයි අපි මෙතෙක් කල් අරගෙන ආවේ. නමුත් 2023 24 වර්ෂය ගත්තාම වාර්ෂික නිෂ්පාදනයේ මුනේ 4.3 මිලියන්. ඒකයි මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ ආවේ මතුවලා ආවේ. මේ සැරෙත් මහා අපි ප්‍රෙඩික්ට් කරනවා මෙහෙමයි කියලා. ප්‍රොඩක්ටිවිටි එක ගැන අපි කල්පනා කරලා බලන්න ඕන. ප්‍රොඩක්ටිවිටි එක අඩු වුණොත් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම එක්ස්ටෙන්ට් එක ගියාට ප්‍රොඩක්ටිවිටි එක අඩු වුණොත් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම yield එක
ඒ කියන්නේ මිලියන් මෙට්‍රික් ටොන් මිලියන් එකක ප්‍රොඩක්ටිවිටි එක එක අවුරුද්දක අඩු වෙන්න මොකක්ද හේතුව?
කාලගුණික විපර්යාසත් එක්ක තමයි මේ ගොඩක් ක්ලයිමේට් චේන්ජ් එකත් එක්ක තමයි ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙන්නේ.
දැන් එතකොට ඕගොල්ලෝ ගිහිල්ලා බැලුවානේ ඔය මිල්ස් වලට. ඔය ලොකු මිල්ස් වලට ගිහිල්ලා ඕගොල්ලෝ චෙක් කරා. එතකොට කන්සියුමර් ෆෙයර්ස් එකට එහෙම හෝඩ් කරලා තිබිච්ච පැඩි හම්බුනේ නැහැ. හරිනේ?
ඔව් පෞද්ගලිකවම අපි ගිහිල්ලා බැලුවා පොළොන්නරුව වගේ ප්‍රදේශ වලට ගිහිල්ලා අපි විශේෂණ කරලා බලපුවා. නිෂ්පාදකයා ළඟ තියෙන පැඩි වලට ප්‍රයිස් එකක් ගෙවපු අවස්ථාවක ගෙවලා අරන් තියෙන්නේ කවුරු හරි කෙනෙක්. කවුරු හරි කෙනෙක් අපි දන්නේ නැහැ කවුද කියන්නේ කවුරු හරි කෙනෙක් අරගෙන තියෙනවා. ඒ ස්ටොක් එක එයා ළඟ තියෙනවා. යා කියනවා යාගේ පැඩි කියලා. දැන් මම වෙල ගියාම තමයි විකුණන්නේ කියලා. ඉතින් පොළොන්නරුවේ සහ අනුරාධපුරයේ දිස්ත්‍රික්ක ගත්තාම මේ වගේ ප්‍රශ්නයක් තමයි තියෙන්නේ. මොකද ග්‍රවුන්ඩ් ලෙවල් එකේම අපිට එන ඉන්ෆර්මේෂන් වල එහෙම තියෙනවා. කවුරු හරි කෙනෙක් යම්කිසි විදියකට පේ කරලා ගොවියට පේ කරලා ගොවියා ළඟ තියෙන ස්ටොක් එක තියෙනවා. ඉතින් අපිට මොකුත් කියන්න ගොවියා ළඟනේ තියෙන්නේ.
The Coconut Cultivation Board said that it will take steps to prevent the felling of coconut trees and the fragmentation of coconut farms for other purposes by enforcing the required laws.
විශේෂයෙන් ඉඩම් කට්ටි කිරීම සහ පොල් ගස් හෙලීම සම්බන්ධව මේ සඳහා බලපාන 52ක් තියෙනවා. එකක් ඉඩම් කට්ටි කිරීමේ නීතිය, අනිත් එක පොල් ගස් හෙලීම වැළැක්වීම.
There are two specific laws that govern fragmentation and the felling of coconut trees. One is the Control of Fragmentation Act and the other is the Felling of Trees Control Act. There has been an amendment since 1993 that prohibits the felling of coconut trees. The Grama Nilladhari officer has the authority to grant permission to cut down trees after assessing the necessity. However, felling coconut trees in any other way is illegal. There is a law that imposes a monetary fine, a 6-month prison sentence or both. For such offences, as the Coconut Cultivation Board, we have a responsibility to prevent the unnecessary felling of coconut trees. We are fulfilling this responsibility. We say that it's wrong to destroy coconut trees and coconut plantations or use them for other purposes. We urge people not to do so. The other relevant law is the Control of Fragmentation Act, which was enacted around 1955 and is undergoing changes. According to this law, the Fragmentation Board has the authority to decide whether to allow the fragmentation of farms. The decision of this board is final. The problem is that applications to the Fragmentation Board are primarily for farmers larger than 10 acres or 2 hectares. The board decides whether to allow the fragmentation of lands larger than 10 acres. As you know, we have a major issue with coconut cultivation farms these days, especially with requests for solar power projects, industries and other purposes. While we recognize the national importance of these other projects, we as officials of the Coconut Cultivation Board cannot agree to this.
මේ ඉල්ලීම් කරනවා. ඉතින් මේවායේදී ජාතික වශයෙන් වෙනත් වැදගත්කම් තියෙන බව අපි පිළිගන්නවා. නමුත් ඒනට අපිට මණ්ඩලයක් හැටියට පොල් වගා කිරීමේ මණ්ඩලයේ වගකීතු නිලධාරියට අපිට මේකට එකඟ වෙන්න බෑ.
මින් ඉදිරියට දැන් ඒ වගේ ව්‍යාපෘති අක්කර 30 40 යොදාගෙන කරන ව්‍යාපෘති වලට අවසර දෙන්නේ නැහැ කියන එකද කියන්නේ?
අවසර දෙන්නේ නැහැ. අපි පොල් වගා කිරීමේ මණ්ඩලය හැටියට අපි කිසිම එහෙම ව්‍යාපෘති.
We as the Coconut Cultivation Board will not allow any such project that involves cutting down trees. There are lands suitable for coconut cultivation. According to suitability, these are categorized as A, 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. Based on this, category 1 and 2 are primarily suitable. Such projects are not suitable for these categories. We will not consider or allow them.
අපි consider කරලා සලකන්නේ නැහැ. ඉඩ දෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Speaking at an event in Colombo, Minister of Industry and Entrepreneurship Development, Sunil Handunetti expressed views on the import of coconut flowers and coconut milk.
We need a short-term solution. We need to import coconut flowers, coconut milk and other necessary items for coconut oil production quickly. The reason is that we have become accustomed to a certain consumption pattern and consumers won't individually resort to protectionist measures. That's what our Deputy Minister said. Therefore, we haven't decided to import coconuts. That's because it would conflict with our other laws and regulations, particularly quarantine laws. So while we cannot import coconuts immediately, we need to protect our local coconut industry and the export industry. To do this, we will have to import a certain quantity of pre-cut coconut pulp and coconut milk to meet our needs.
Our development era kickstarts from 2002-2005.
If you're off duty, right, you're entitled to do what you want. And Niresh, whether it's pluck coconuts or whether it's scraping the coconuts, they have the freedom to do that.
By having taxes on imports for the food on the poorest of the poor is a big problem.
I think economic inclusion of the rural people is very important to keep the economy going.
Government and state are two things. So time to time we need restructuring. We can't go on. That is the main reason why NPP won.
Face the Nation every Wednesday at 9:30 p.m. on TV1.
Companies play better politics than the politicians of today.
We are not supposed to play with the people's expectation. Then it will be a huge disaster.
When you're bankrupt and when you're going to bankruptcy, two different.
The grandfather is saying it is going to take this long. What does he know?
It's about lack of sense of humor in Sri Lankans.
Issues that matter the most. Unfiltered discussions. Real answers. Face to face. Monday to Thursday at 8 p.m. on TV1.
ජාතික මෙහෙවරින් අපි කතා බහ කරන්නේ පුරුෂ පාර්ශවයට කාන්තා පාර්ශවයට වෙනසක් නැතුව ආයුර්වේදයට අනුව ලස්සන වෙන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා.
හොඳම මොයිස්චරයිස් එක තමයි කොමඩු.
යම්කිසි වයස් මට්ටම් වලට පැමිණෙනකොට ඇතිවෙන බෝන් නොවන රෝග තත්ත්වයන් තුලදී කොයි ආකාරයෙන්ද ඇස ආරක්ෂා කරගන්නේ?
බහුලවම අන්ධභාවයට පත්වන රෝගී තත්ත්ව ගත්තොත් ඇත්තටම ලෝකයේ ලංකාවේ දෙකම නම්බර් 1 ඇත්තටම තියෙන සුද ඇහි සුද.
නිරාමිෂ සිතුවිලි වලින් තමයි පිබිදෙන්නේ. ඒනට ප්‍රශ්නේ ටික වෙලාවක් යනකොට වෙනස් පැත්තකට යන්න පුළුවන්.
මූලික අරමුණ සියදිවි හානි වැළැක්වීම වුණාට ඕනම කෙනෙකුට ඕනම ප්‍රශ්නයක් ඕනම ගැටලුවක් ගැන කතා කරන්න අපිත් එක්ක යොමු වෙන්න පුළුවන්.
ජාතික මෙහෙවර සතියේ දිනවල උදෑසන 11ට.
ඒගොල්ලන්ට මේ අපිට කියන්න බෑනේ මේ අනේ හාල් ටික හොයලා දෙන්න කියලා.
අහන ප්‍රශ්නේ තමයි උත්තර දෙන්න ඔබතුමාත් අහපු ප්‍රශ්නෙට. ඌ බලාපොරොත්තු කන්දක් දීලානේ ඇවිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ.
සදාකාලිකව ඒගොල්ලන්ට කොරායි කිඹුල්ලු බල ඉන්න පුළුවන්.
ජනතාව බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන අත්ත වශයෙන්ම ශනික යම්කි සහනයක්.
දැනට තියෙන රජයයි ඒ තිබිච්ච රජයනේ අතර අහසට පොළොව වගේ වෙනසක් තියෙනවා.
මොකද අපි දැක්ක මීට පෙරත් ඔය ජවනිකාව අපි දැක්ක ඔය නාට්‍ය අපි දැක්කා. කලබල වෙන්න එපා රොෂාන්. අපි ඔය වගේ ප්‍රශ්න කරන්න ආචාර්ය උපාධි සහතික නැතුණා කියලා කියන්න පුළුවන්ද?
රට එක පැහැදිලි කිරීමක් කරන්න වස්ස ඔබට තීරණය කරන්න පුළුවන්.
අපි හැමෝම එකතු වෙලා මේ රට හදමු.
දවස සතිය දිනවල සවස 6:30ට.
The Met Department forecasts that fairly heavy showers above 75 millimeters can be expected at some places in Nuwa, Sabaragamuwa and southern provinces and in Ampara, Batticaloa and Matale districts. Several spells of showers will occur in northern and north-central provinces and in Trincomalee district. Meanwhile, 91,101 individuals of 16 districts have been affected by heavy rainfall. Over 35,800 individuals have been affected in the Ampara district alone. Meanwhile, the Department of Irrigation says that the Malbatu Oya continues to be at risk of flooding in Tantri Malay. Director of the Hydrology at Disaster Management Unit, L.S. Surya Bandaru, says that sluice gates of 55 main reservoirs as well as medium-scale tanks continue to remain open.
All 6 sluice gates of the Nachadua reservoir are still open. Water from this reservoir is being released to the Malbatu Oya. The Department of Irrigation informs residents of surrounding low-lying areas to be vigilant in this regard. The 2 sluice gates of the Kalawava also continue to remain open. The engineer in charge of the Kantale reservoir has taken action to keep 4 sluice gates open due to rainwater flowing in, although rainfall in the region has temporarily ceased. 8 sluice gates of the Kaudulavaava continue to remain open due to the rise of its water levels due to the addition of water released from the Minneria Bava. As water levels of the Kahambilia Oya could rise due to the release of water from the Kaudulavaava, the engineer in charge requests residents of the banks on the either sides of the Oya to exercise caution. Vehicular movement along the road connecting the Agbopura Unit 19 village and the Kantale town came to a complete standstill due to the road being submerged near the Ginipetti bridge as a result of the sluice gates of the Kantale reservoir being opened. Approximately 250 acres in Senapitia and Eruvava in Thirappane was submerged due to the overflow of the Malbatu Oya.
දෙපැත්තේ කුඹුරු වලට හානි නොවන විදිහට බැම්මක් ඉදි කරලා දුන්නා මේ හානිය වම කරගන්න පුළුවන්. ඔය යට වෙච්ච ප්‍රමාණයෙන් කිසිම කෙනෙකුට ආදායමක් ගන්න බෑ.
Paddy fields in Kakulubala and Maldania in Beheragala in the Mahavali Sea zone were submerged in this manner.
මේක දැන් බණ්ඩි අවදිය. මේක මේ වෙනකොට තනිකරම කහ පාට වෙලා නැති වෙලා කුණු වෙමින් යන තත්ත්වයක් තමයි දැන් අපිට පේන්න තියෙන්නේ.
පීඩන ගොයමට විච්ච හානි වලට වන්දියක් ලබා දෙන්න කියලා තමයි අපි ඉල්ලීමක් කරන්නේ.
Many farmlands in the Nachadua farming community have been submerged for about 6 days due to the opening of sluice gates of the Nachadua reservoir. Over 1,000 acres in Peraru, Kantale was submerged in this manner.
Meanwhile, the National Aquatic Resources and Research and Development Agency, or NARA, has launched an investigation into the death of birds near the Bera Lake in Colombo.
I am near the Bera Lake in Colombo.
during the past few days, the talk of the town in Colombo were the duck carcasses found at the Beira Lake. So as the people around this Beira Lake say, after Christmas, the color of the water changed, and after that, as they say, chemicals were added to the lake. Over the recent days, a large number of bird carcasses were found in the Beira Lake and the surrounding areas. People say that these bird deaths were observed after the Colombo Municipal Council added a certain chemical substance to the Beira Lake in an attempt to curb unpleasant odors from the water. When Newsfirst made an inquiry from the secretary of the Colombo Municipal Council, she said that the Deputy Municipal Commissioner A.D.S. Rohana could provide a clarification on the issue. Despite our attempts to contact the Deputy Municipal Commissioner on several occasions, he did not respond. The National Aquatic Resources Research and Development Agency, or NARA, says that according to the data they currently have, the oxygen concentration in the Beira Lake water is extremely low. They also express confidence that their investigations would help determine whether the cause of the bird deaths is linked to the impact of the chemical substances. Colombo is a tourist destination. And what happened to the Beira Lake? Why do we find duck carcasses in the Beira Lake? What is the story behind this?
Up next is our segment, What Happened to the Village?
What happened to the village?
The Kurunagala Kandy main road is known to be quite congested. This condition only worsened with the opening of a central expressway interchange in Gattuana. 5 years ago, a project was initiated to tackle this issue, building a bridge across the Gattuana railway line. The cost assessment was 600 million rupees. A 60-foot long temporary iron bridge was built as well. This is what is left of that by now. This too turned out to be just another abandoned project.
වාහන බ්ලොක් එක ඉස්කෝලේ ළමයි යන වෙලාවට ඉස්කෝලේ යනකොට කොහොමද යන්නත් බෑ. දවල්ට මෙතන ජාත්‍යන්තර පාසලක් තියෙනවා. තව පාසල් කීපයක් මේ අවට තියෙනවා. ඒ සියල්ලම එකතු වුණාම මෙතන තිබෙන තදබදේ හිතා ගන්න බැරි තදබදයක් තියෙනවා. එහා පැත්තේ පාලම දිරාගෙන යනවා. ඉතින් මේ වගේ හරි මහජන මුදල් විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක් මෙතන අපත යනවා. අපරාධ මුදල් නේද? යකඩ දිර දිරා යනවා, සිමෙන්ති දිර දිරා යනවා. ඒක කිසි ප්‍රයෝජනයක් නැහැ. ඉතින් රටේ ධනය කියන්නේ අපේ ධනය. අපි හම්බ කරන්න එපා. අපේ සල්ලිනේ මේ හැමතැනම සංසරණය වෙන්නේ.
Is it not a pity that public funds are being wasted so carelessly in this manner? It is not too late to do something about this, at least now.
What happened to the village?
Imagine a community where families have relied on dairy farming for generations. For many, it's their heritage, their livelihood, their way of life. They've always provided milk for their communities, contributing to local economies. But now, this way of life is under threat. The people of Haddua, a village in Garadua, Mathura, once enjoyed a comfortable life thanks to the thriving dairy industry. For generations, around 300 families in the community have been deeply involved in dairy farming. However, times have changed.
මමත් අවුරුදු 40ක් තිස්සේ කිරි පාලනය කරනවා. සර් අබායවටම ගිහිල්ලා. කිරි වලට කිසිම මිලක් නැහැ.
The cost of feeding the cows has soared, putting immense strain on the farmers. Unfortunately, the price they receive for their milk is now barely enough to cover the rising costs, let alone support their families.
කෑම කිලෝ 25 රුපියක් 2500යි. ඒක සතියක් දෙන්න බෑ මහත්තයෝ ගෙනල්ලා. මේ සතෙකුට දෙන්න ඕන කෑම කිලෝ 5ක් විතර දවසකට. ඊයේත් දැන් මම බෙහෙත්යක් ගෙනාගෙන රුපියල් 1600යි බෙහෙත් මේල දෙන්න පැටියෙක් දාන්න ඉන්න ඕනේ. ඒකට අර කැල්සියම් ඕන නිසා.
මේක දැන් මේ ක්‍රමයෙන් අපිට දැන් එපා වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. මේකම කරා අවුරුදු 32ක් විතර දවස ගානේ ගව කෑම මිල වැඩි මොනවා හරි සහනයක් ලැබුණොත් ඉතින් මේ ඉදිරියට ඇත්තටම කරගෙන යන්න පුළුවන්. නැත්නම් ඉතින් අපිටත් ඇතැරලා වෙන මොනවා හරි ක්‍රියාමාර්ගයකට යන්න සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ දැන්.
Today, as the Gum at the team went door to door, they listened to the heartfelt stories of dairy farmers who, weighed down by mounting challenges, shared their struggles.
Gum at the door to door.
Healthcare is always a matter of great concern for the people of our country. Gammadda deeply understands the pain and struggle of those in remote villages who face immense difficulties in accessing medical care. Today, Gammadda was able to bring comfort and relief to these people, making a significant difference in their lives.
Gammadda, along with its partners, came together to bring much-needed improvements to the Anamadua Base Hospital, ensuring better health care for all. The Anamadua Base Hospital is a beacon of hope, providing long-term health care to many, despite limited facilities. Gammadda renovated a building to establish a blood transfusion unit and constructed another for a medical-grade water purification system. Gammadda also donated essential medical equipment to the hospital. Amidst multi-religious blessings, these contributions were handed over to the public, led by Gammadda leader Siobhan Daniel and David Ray, Director of Operations of Next Manufacturing Private Limited. The event saw the participation from key figures including Dr. Lasantha Liyanage, the medical officer in charge, Nirmala Vijayatunga, the Divisional Secretary of Anamadua, among other state officials. Next Manufacturing's General Manager Pradeep Suryarachi and HR Director Bharata Amarasinghe also attended with great enthusiasm. Additionally, Anamadua Police OIC Chief Inspector Induni Lekhanayaka, Navy Lieutenant Commander Palita Herath, Engineer P.R.W. Hevavitharana from the Putlam District Engineering Office and Dr. Nalaka Chandrasekhara from the Regional Health Services Office Kidney Diseases were present. The Gammadda team, led by General Secretary Prasanna Athukorala, organised everything with collective support.
Not only very happy, but also very proud to say that this is the fifth project that we've entered into a meaningful partnership with the team at Gammadda. I don't think that without them any of this would be really possible. So I'd like to reach out and pass my heartfelt thanks to the team at Gammadda for really bringing real change to people's lives, one project at a time. And then Gammadda and least but not forget the tireless work done by the Sri Lankan Navy to actually do the installation of the reverse osmosis facility, which, having had a look around this one, is far more complicated than anything we've seen on any of our previous projects. So I'd like to say a personal thank you to the Sri Lankan Navy for their, for the installation. And after the installation and being able to hand that over today to the medical team here in the Anamadua Hospital.
We witness the immense suffering of our people in hospitals every day. Those who can afford it have the option to seek treatment at top hospitals in Colombo or even abroad. But it's the pain of our underprivileged communities that truly breaks our hearts. This suffering is everywhere, in every province. It is our doctors and nurses who confront this hardship head-on, and you are the real heroes. That's why I believe it's a privilege for the Next institution to partner with rural communities and offer support, helping to ease the burden of the vital work you're doing.
Gammadda initiated the project last June to address the deficiencies in the kidney unit and dilapidated blood transfusion unit at the Anamadua Base Hospital, a region heavily affected by kidney diseases. This was in response to a notification from the Chief Medical Officer to Gammadda.
News First with the people.
Former Western Provincial Council member Salochana Gamage and Dushantha Dinesh Ratnayaka were released on bail today by order of the Colombo Magistrates Court.
Two suspects were arrested for allegedly accepting a bribe of 9 million rupees to expedite compensation for a plot of land in Torrington Avenue, Colombo, which had been acquired by the Urban Development Authority. They were remanded in custody following their arrest. Today, the suspects were presented before the Colombo Magistrates Court. The court ordered their release on bail, with each suspect required to post a cash bail of 25,000 rupees and two surety bails of 500,000 rupees each. Additionally, the magistrate imposed a travel ban on the suspects, preventing them from leaving the country. The case is scheduled to be heard again on the 20th of June 2025.
Commissioner General of Elections, Saman Sri Ratnayaka, said they will be able to hold the local government election in April 2025. He expressed his views at an event in Matara today.
A bill has been presented to Parliament to annul the nominations submitted in 2023 and to accept new nominations based on the 2024 electoral list. 4 parties have filed petitions in the Supreme Court regarding this matter. We believe that we will be able to hold the local government election in April. Everything will be decided based on the judgment. We hope to inform you about the future steps along with this.
He also expressed views on those who have failed to submit their income and expenditure reports.
They were required to submit their income and expenditure reports as per the regulation of the Election Expenditure Act. Legal action has already been taken against 13 who failed to do so. Instructions have been given to the returning officers in respective districts to file cases against 1,064 individuals with regard to the parliamentary elections. These returning officers have already handed over the necessary documents and complaints to the senior superintendents of police for initiating legal proceedings. The police department will conduct further investigation and the Attorney General's department will handle the legal proceeding.
Newsfirst, main sponsor.
International Edu Expo with EdLocate on the 1st and 2nd February. Call us to register.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has released a report detailing the deviation of headline inflation.
The Central Bank of Sri Lanka has released a report detailing the deviation of headline inflation from the target setting the Monetary Policy Framework Agreement or MPFA for the 2nd and 3rd quarters of 2024. The report submitted to Parliament through the Minister of Finance highlights deviations from the inflation targets. According to the report, headline inflation, as measured by the Colombo Consumer Price Index or CCPI, fell below the target range for 2 consecutive quarters. In the 2nd quarter of 2024, inflation was recorded at 1.4%, and in the 3rd quarter of 2024, it further decreased to 0.8%. These figures are notably lower than the stipulated targets, prompting the CBSL to provide an explanation for the deviation. The CBSL attributed the lower than expected inflation rates to several factors, including reduced demand pressures, lower global commodity prices, and weather conditions. The report also outlines measures taken by the CBSL to address the deviation and ensure inflation returns to the target range in the coming quarters. Quarterly headline inflation is expected to gradually return to the target range by the 3rd quarter of 2025. Monetary easing and price normalization are expected to drive headline inflation toward the target, while core inflation is expected to stabilize over the medium term. The release of this report is in compliance with Section 26, Subsection 5 of the Central Bank Act, which mandates the CBSL to report any significant deviations from the inflation targets to Parliament and the public.
Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe, Governor of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka, emphasized that while negative inflation following a period of high inflation and elevated prices can be beneficial, it must be carefully managed to avoid adverse effects on economic production. He made his comment at a session convened by the Committee on Public Finance in Parliament, chaired by Dr. Harsha De Silva.
The negative inflation for a short period after very high inflation and very high level of prices, I think is positive for the economy. The reason being that if you look at this the level of prices from where we had the price levels in the economy before the crisis and where we are now, so price levels are still pretty much high and remaining at a certain level for a period now. But still, if you look at the impact on the economy of these higher levels, I think it would be a concern for the economy if this deflation is going to retard the production that we are not seeing. For time being, for example, from 2023 onwards, all the projections actually economy performed better than what was expected. So I think maintaining a deflation or lower or stable price level is good for the economy if economy is performing at least above what we expect. Obviously, it's a concern if the deflation, economy is also contracting, then obviously we have to push more to expand the economy. We want to bring back to the inflation to a normal level over a period of time. That's what these policies are aimed at, to bring that to a level what we think 5% is appropriate and normal economic. Now demand is picking up more than what we thought. So that's why negative inflation is not a concern. I think now the concern should be, from our point of view, that's going to basically heat up the economy unnecessarily. We will see, for example, credit growth in December is better concern close to criminal say 200 billion within the month is one of the highest credit expansion. And you can also see the queues in the for imports. So imports are also picking up faster even without motor vehicles. So I don't think this deflation is good for the time being, and we need to control the overall aggregate demand. Our assumption that there will be cost recovery pricing for utilities continuing, I think based on this current information, we are going to see inflation coming back clearly in the third quarter, even could be even earlier depending on the credit expansion. That's why we have to be very careful. We don't want to, we have to maintain the stability without jeopardizing the stability that we already, in a hard way, we gain that stability. But if you imbalance that stability, there's a risk of going back to, for example, excessive demand for credit, excessive demand for imports, without corresponding increase in foreign exchange earnings. There could be a short-term impact.
The Tamil Nadu Congress Committee has defended Indira Gandhi's decision to cede Kachativu to Sri Lanka. The Tamil Nadu Congress Committee or TNCC President K. Selva Peranthage has criticised BJP President K. Annamalai for his recent remarks against former Prime Minister Indira Gandhi regarding the ceding of Kachativu to Sri Lanka. In a statement issued on Thursday, Selva Peranthage defended Indira Gandhi's decision, describing it as a strategic step. He emphasised that Kachativu, an island covering 285 acres and unfit for human habitation, was ceded to Sri Lanka under an agreement that also granted Tamil Nadu fishermen the right to fish in the Wage Bank in Kanyakumari South, which is under Sri Lankan control. He further questioned Annamalai on what actions the BJP has taken to prevent the arrest of 530 Tamil Nadu fishermen by Sri Lankan authorities and the auctioning of 73 of their boats. He challenged the BJP to address the pressing issues affecting the fishermen community.
The Colombo East Container Terminal has enhanced its capacity with new cranes.
The Colombo East Container Terminal has recently enhanced its operational efficiency with the addition of 3 new ship-to-shore cranes. This expansion brings the terminal's total to 9 STS cranes, allowing it to accommodate a wider variety of vessels, regardless of the size. This development is part of the Sri Lanka Ports Authority's ongoing efforts to solidify the country's status as a key maritime hub in the Indian Ocean. Once fully operational by mid-2025, the Colombo East Container Terminal is expected to handle up to 3.5 million 20-foot equivalent units or TEUs annually. The terminal's impressive specifications include a berth length of 1,320 meters and a water depth ranging from 18 to 20 meters, enabling it to support larger vessels and boost regional economic growth through increased trade flows. The second day of the 26th ASEAN Regional Forum, Heads of Defence Universities, Colleges and Institutions meeting took place today. Speaking at the event, Minister of Foreign Affairs Vijay Herath emphasised the importance of neutrality for smaller states like Sri Lanka, which is strategically located in the Indian Ocean region.
The second day of the 26th ASEAN Regional Forum Heads of Defence Universities, Colleges and Institutions meeting, hosted by General Sir John Kotalawala Defence University, was held today. The keynote speaker of the event was Minister of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Employment and Tourism, Vijay Herath.
Sri Lanka is keen to maintain her neutrality and to contribute actively to the maintenance of regional peace and stability as a small state in a strategic location in the Indian Ocean region. We do not wish to be drawn into conflict or be compelled to choose sides. Respect for sovereignty and the rule of law that govern interactions between states are integral for the survival of small states. such as Sri Lanka, in an increasingly polarized world. As a country with limited resources and hard power capabilities and a small open economy, our survival and development is intrinsically interlinked to a stable regional and global environment. We are dealing with a constantly shifting, uncertain, volatile global environment. Major power rivalry is increasing, and along with it there is increased militarization, which is spilling over to the Asia-Pacific region, including onto the maritime domain. The rules-based multilateral order is under threat. On the economic front, selective decoupling and de-risking is taking place, with increasingly protectionist measures being advanced by certain countries. These developments are directly impacting businesses and economies and a significant strain on relationship between countries. This is not limited to the countries directly involved, but also those countries which are a critical part of global supply chain. As a result, there is an increased risk of widening global inequality. Geo-economic fragmentation may also lead to more trade between like-minded, high-income economies and significantly impact the growth prospects of developing economies. On the security front, we are witnessing a resurgence of latent and open conflicts involving former and aspiring major powers. We are also seeing the rise of unilateral alliances and partnerships emerging, including those with both economic and security interests in the Asia-Pacific region. The international architecture, both from a security and financial perspective, has not responded adequately to these developments. We are also seeing the resurgence of the threat of use of nuclear weapons in conflict situations. The global landscape is increasingly shaped by cyber operations, strategic communications, and digital engagement. States must adopt not only their military strategies but also their approach to governance, regional cooperation, and global engagement. As defense strategies evolve, so must the approach to defense education, ensuring that all of us can contribute equally to the discourse on security through for such as this. Ladies and gentlemen, war and conflict is often a result of a failure of diplomacy, crisis management, and peacekeeping. We must seek new ways in which to keep dialogue and conversation channels open.
The event has been taking place since the 22nd of January and will conclude on the 25th of January.
The New Zealand High Commission, together with Sri Lanka women's cricket team representing Sri Lanka cricket and Soul Sounds Choir, engaged in a goodwill visit to Indira Cancer Trust.
The visit to Indira Cancer Trust, part of Pitch to Pitch, a special program initiated by the New Zealand High Commission in Sri Lanka dedicated to promoting Sri Lankan talent, saw the High Commissioner, the Sri Lanka women's cricket team, members of the Soul Sounds Choir, Dilma T, Nelda Mango and MTV Media Network spend a day with children from Indira Cancer Trust, chosen as the charity partner for the program. During the event, the children were divided into 3 groups for singing, cooking and playing cricket.
කොහොමද මේක මේ කප් එකකට දාගන්නේ කියලා. හදානවා.
Following this, they engaged in an observational tour of the premises. The day concluded with a therapy session at Suwa Aruna, a healing garden with pet-assisted therapy, and a video presentation followed by a fellowship night.
The International Cricket Council today commenced announcements as part of the ICC Awards 2024 by revealing the first 3 ICC Teams of the Year, the ICC Men's Test Team of the Year and the ICC Men's and Women's ODI Teams of the Year.
Sri Lanka's Charita Salanka has been named the captain of the Men's ODI Team of the Year following a series of exceptional performances in one-day international cricket. Joining Asalanka in the prestigious lineup from Sri Lanka are Wanindu Hasaranga, Kusal Mendis and Pathum Nisanka. In the Women's ODI Team of the Year, Sri Lanka's Chamriyata Pathu has earned the place. Sri Lanka's Kamindu Mendis has been included in the ICC Test Team of the Year.
Pakistan and Nepal won the matches held today in the ranking round of the ICC Women's Under-19 T20 World Cup 2025.
The ranking matches were held today between the teams that finished fourth in the first round of the ICC Women's Under-19 T20 World Cup. Pakistan won the match against Samoa by 52 runs. Pakistan, batting first, scored 136 runs for the loss of 8 wickets. In response, Samoa were bowled out for 84 runs. Nepal won the match against hosts Malaysia by 7 wickets. Batting first, hosts Malaysia managed to score only 45 runs. Nepal chased down the target in 11 overs for the loss of 3 wickets. The Super 6 round of the tournament is set to begin tomorrow. All the action of the ICC Women's Under-19 T20 World Cup 2025 can be watched live on TV1 and www.sirasatv.lk.
This is in Nepal. A brilliant innings from their captain. There might have been a few nerves in the dugout.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight.
Thank you for watching. Good night.